Right next to the news, we have our own stew. WIDR Kalamazoo. Right next to the news, we have our own stew. WIDR Kalamazoo. Right next to the news, we have our own stew. WIDR Kalamazoo.
Welcome, everybody, back from the long break, the hiatus. This is the ESBN, the Electronic Sports Bronco News Network, on 89.1 WIDRFM. Back again with all content related to Western Michigan esports here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I am Trevor Swick, joined alongside by a little bit different angle today, not our normal players and competitors that we have here, but on the other side of things, the behind the curtain side, our production crew, and to represent them, I guess we want to go through. I've got Kelly and our coordinator Tavian here, so I guess to give some frame to the intros, go ahead, tell us your name, your tag. Well, I normally say major, but I'm sorry, Tavian.
I can say what my major was.
Oh, okay, your major was. Yeah, sure, if you want to do that. And I guess what you do at the program. I mean, it should be good, but...
Okay, yeah. Tavian Napier. My gamer tag is Philosopher. My major was animation and game design. I'm not really using that anymore for the most part. And I do a little bit of everything, production, coaching, I guess head coaching, event planning. Pretty much anything involved in esports, I'm probably involved in some way.
All right.
I'm Kelly. I major in graphic design with a minor in computer science. I work on the production side of things, so I help run the streams, I make some of the graphics, I change what's being shown and streamed on Twitch, and I regulate all that end of things.
Yeah, Kelly is our in-house firefighter. Whenever things are just like exploding and burning on stream, Kelly fixes them pretty quickly, so... That's good. That's normally how that goes. Awesome. Normally the first opening segment we have to talk about here is I always ask the players where their tag came from. So I guess if we want to do that, I know, Kelly, you're in a bit of an identity crisis with the tag you want to roll with.
I think I'm honing in on one, so I can get opinions live if we want to go with that.
Sure. If you want to start.
Yeah, sure. So, I previously have gone with actual Lee just because I thought it was a little pun. Lee's kind of a fun nickname. But I'm currently messing around with Lackey, spelled Lack, L-A-C-K _ key, like the object. I think that's kind of fun. I'm not sure though. I'm still rotating these around my head. We'll see what happens.
It's good. I like it. It's still in the pun vein. It sticks with it. But was it anything else before actually, or because we had people digging up like Xbox Live names and stuff when we were in here last time.
No, nothing fun. Every account I've ever signed up for, I've used a different name, and then I've abandoned it incredibly quickly, so I couldn't even tell you how many names I've burned through.
Awesome. Well, Tavian, Philosopher.
Yeah, I was trying to think back about how long it's been. So I used to go by Cypher. That was my gamer tag for the longest time. Before that, it was Big Mac. The reason being, I was eating like a breakfast sandwich on the bus one day, like in high school or middle school, and somebody thought it was a Big Mac. And like people in high school just called me Big Mac for like most of my elementary, middle school.
You are pretty tall, so
yeah,
I think it fits in a
yeah. And then
ways.
I got kind of tired of that, and then like I think I was in an English class, and I saw the word cipher, and I was playing Metal Gear Solid 2 around the same time.
Yeah,
and I saw a cipher in there, and I was like, I like that word, and I like the meaning of it too. So I CYPHER went by that for years, and then when I moved to San Diego, I was like starting to get into YouTubing and podcasting and everything. And I was like, I need something other than Cypher because it's always taken. Yeah. Like it's almost always taken. I have to like add like my initials or something or whatever. So I was like, well, I like philosophy. Maybe I can find some way to put that together. And then I don't know how I figured it out, but I was like, Philosopher, Philosopher, got it, easy. Just pretty unique, spelled with the CYPHER at the end. But yeah, I've kind of been attached to that ever since.
Yeah, good little Metal Gear callback. Shout out to one of the best bosses in the franchise. Hacking your PS2 data to...
Oh, you mean Vamp?
Oh no, is that in?
That's Psychomantis.
That's Psychomantis.
Yeah, Metal Gear 1. I mean, that is a good boss though.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I was just reminded that. I thought it was named Cypher. Well, Cypher, Psycho Art, they're pretty close.
There is a Cypher in Metal Gear 3 and 4, I believe.
Okay.
And then there's also the Philosophers, like a shadow organization too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tavian Context is our resident Metal Gear stan, so he knows everything and anything about it. And so I'm sure we could have a whole segment dedicated to Metal Gear. But awesome. All right. Well, we've got some backgrounds about everybody to roll through. So I guess the topic for this episode was we just wanted to go into production and kind of give a look behind the scenes of what it takes to put on the events that we do, run the streams that we do, because you might tune in and watch some of those streams, and it's really easy as a viewer just to look at things and be like, oh, it's they're just playing the game, they're just streaming it, but there is a lot of work and steps that go into making that product every week, and I think we want to dive into some of that. So I guess so I think to just open it up really quick. If you just want to talk about, I guess, how things have been going this semester and kind of how production's been shaped up this far, like with our experience and, what we've been doing recently, some of the events. So,
you want to go first?
You start. I'll work off of you. I want to see.
Sure, yeah.
I want to see what you think.
I feel like it's been going well. I've sort of been taking a backseat to like actually managing the production and doing it myself, which is a little scary from my perspective because I like doing it. It's like my favorite thing to do. So it's like the thing I'm doing the least is the thing I enjoy doing the most. But Kelly's been doing a good job. The team's been doing a good job. I think the challenge for me is learning how to pass the information in a productive way. Like that's sort of where I'm thinking about it is like, hey, we work at a college, so all of my staff is like their students are going to graduate. So how do I keep a repeatable process when my staff and leaders are going to be leaving at some point? So that's sort of where my brain is at a lot. And I feel like we've got kind of a good idea now of how to do that. It's still not where I want it to be, but in terms of actual live production, I always feel like we do a great job. Things are always going to go wrong, but I feel like everyone's gotten good at managing the issues without like me having to intervene or anything.
I agree with that. I've been here for just over a year at this point, and I definitely think we've gotten more efficient with how we handle issues, how we run the streams. I can tell that I've gotten better and I'm quicker at resolving issues, working on my end of production. Earlier this week, I was able to play around with production a little bit to riff off the casters, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it's been great to improve this way. It can still be really stressful because I have to pass on my knowledge as well to the next set of techies that are going to take my place, but I've been having a great time, and I can definitely tell that it's run way differently than it was a year ago, just based on the way we've reorganized our side of esports.
Yeah, and there's so much minutia that like goes into like passing on that knowledge to the next part, because like right now like there's no one else I trust more behind Big Blue, the vMix PC that we have upstairs. So that's Kelly's realm, and I like whoever like is in that vein to do that next thing. There is a lot of work that like goes into being there, and then you also have to like put up with my micromanaging of like in like the teleprompter chat of just like this. So like there's so much stuff that goes into it. Yeah.
But honestly, Trevor, last stream we ran, we had a club stream on Wednesday. You would type something in chat just as I would leave to go fix it.
Yeah,
and so I'd come back to the computer and you said, "Oh, I make sure the sound is on in the house." And I came back like, "Oh, I just did that."
Yeah. So
we're really in sync at this point. But also I can tell that Chippy, another member of our staff, sometimes I'll think about all the complicated issues that there can be, and he'd be like, "Oh, you just try to uncheck this box." I'm like, "Oh, well, there you go."
Yeah, it's nice to have like a second set of eyes in the booth, because sometimes you're just like, it's over. It's an unfixable issue, and someone's like, "Oh, you just this," and you're like, oh, "Why did I not think of that?" So it's right. Nice having a team effort in the booth instead of just one person.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing worth mentioning too is that it's really nice that we can give each other feedback and it's never been toxic. There's a lot of places, and especially in like the art field, where like you give feedback to somebody and they can get really offended. Mm-hmm. But I feel like we've always had an environment or a culture where we can be like, hey, this could be better. And like no one's ever intending to offend or being offended, at least not in my experience.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, like, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Production is very stressful. But I mean, that amount of stress is because there's a lot of things to juggle and manage to work with it. And part of that is a lot of chemistry with like our team, because at the end of the day, everyone wants the same thing to improve the stream, make sure things run swell, make sure that things that do that better. So whenever someone says like, oh, you know, like this part of the stream is really struggling or really bad, like it's pretty hard. I don't think I've heard anyone say like, no, it's fine. Like no one's ever like content with something in a way where like it can always be better. So if you say something like can use improvement, no one's going to be like, no, it's fine, you're wrong.
Yeah.
No one's really deflective like that. We're really like, yeah, that could probably be better, and we can, you know, take some steps towards it.
I think we're all perfectionists in some way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think everyone I've met behind the scenes of the program cares about it incredibly intensely and really cares about the history and what we've built up over the years, even though this is an incredibly recent program compared to the history of Western. So it really energizes you and wants you to make it. It makes me want to make this program better, just being surrounded by these people who care so much.
Yeah, and I love how much agency like we get in production, because any time that we want to do something new, we're just like, okay, what goes into it? What do we have to do to make it? Like, I don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops, you know, to see logistics and ask people for permission and see if it's possible. Like, if I wanted to add some new feature to the stream or like some segment or something like that, it's really just like, you know, the students are conscious enough to know what goes into it, and it's just a learning process to implement it and do it. So, I guess to give some context to that, because that was kind of abstract. Like I was gonna say, I just kind of talked in like Socrates for a second. So I just about production. It's know thy soundboard.
There's a lot of context to production. I feel like it's hard to articulate.
Yeah, for sure. I think like to give some context, like I'll talk about like the Valorant map ban screen or something. So like in Valorant, we do map pick ban before the game starts, which is essentially just, you know, which maps you want to pick and play on. Teams have better strategies for certain ones, and, you know, they want to get rid of some, keep some for preference. And it's kind of like a pass back and forth. So one team picks, when the other team picks, then like the other team bans, other team bans. But we wanted to make like a graphic screen for that, because it's normally something that happens behind the scenes for the coaches to do back and forth. But in professional broadcasts, and I think we'll get to this, is that almost all our inspiration comes from, you know, the AAA broadcasts for major esports. You know, they all have huge map pick ban things. And now we're not doing the same thing, because I remember in like Valorant Istanbul, when they were doing they had like this whole AR sphere that was like layouts of the map. I'm trying to think of like an analogy of what it looks like. It's like it looked like Tron or something, like some AR
hologram or something.
Yeah, there was like some hologram set up of this huge sphere of like all the map layouts, and then they would like dissolve when they got bit. It was crazy, and I was like, we can put some pictures on the screen. Like we could go from there. So yeah, so Kelly implemented that, and we just kind of.
Well, I didn't implement that.
Yeah, no, not that specifically. No, not the full thing, but our version. Yeah.
I'm okay. I did not do that much at this point.
Yeah, our version was just, you know, putting up the pictures of the maps, you know, showing some colors over to show which teams, you know, picked ones and which ones banned ones. But it's like those little extra things that like it's only on the screen for about like 10, 15 seconds or something sometimes, but it takes an hour to put some of those things up and going into it. So
figure and everything. Yeah, but those things the small things are the ones that usually bring me some happiness for some reasons. Like, oh yes, that looked really cool. Yeah. Like only the production people can appreciate it, but at least they're giving more information to the spectator. They don't realize it once they have it normally, so they're not going to comment on it. But it's like if it wasn't there after the fact, that's when it's like, okay, well, clearly it was a quality of life or kind of like a informative thing for them. Yeah. So I think most people appreciate it, even if they don't notice that they appreciate it. Yeah,
there's a common saying in theater that's applied to a lot to sound and lighting design, where people only notice it if it's wrong. And if it's good, then they won't say anything about it. So it's absolutely one of those things where adding that little bit of visual variety and visual information is absolutely huge. And without it, the stream can definitely struggle.
Yeah, viewers are ungrateful. I mean, I'm kidding. I think what I mean by that is, I mean, taking like all these years of production experience and transitioning that into watching major events, whether it be sporting events, you know, esports events, any type type of large scale production and there's a delay or some problem or issue or something like that, my patience has risen tremendously. I mean, in league games, they have delays up to an hour sometimes where it's just a dead stream in the middle for an hour and the casters are doing anything and everything they can to do to like keep it alive. I remember I was watching LEC a couple months ago and I think Quickshot was leading the crowd in some song or something like that because they had so much downtime when like the PCs were just broken. So it's just, I'm all for it because I know what the staff is going through there that I'm like, take your time, it's like that SpongeBob episode where they're doing the snail races and Patrick's like patting the rock. Like you'll do it eventually. Like you'll get there. It's not.
In Rocky 1.
In Rocky 1. Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Do you understand our reference to?
No, I don't. It went over my head.
It's a SpongeBob episode. But
okay. No, I was gonna say I agree with you. Like I go to concerts every now and then with my wife, and like whenever I do, when I pass like the light and sound guys, I'm always like, "Good job, you guys did a great job," because no one ever thanks them.
Yeah,
and it's just like nice to be able to do that. But also to your point, I do feel like when I see esports organizations like their production mess up, it makes me feel okay when we have mistakes and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, they're having the same issues and they have a bajillion staff members and a quadrillion dollars. So if they're still having mistakes and delays, then I think we're doing okay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I will say it's weird because you look at a lot of production and stuff. Like I've been watching March Madness recently for basketball and stuff, and I just don't know if traditional sports broadcasts have just been around for a while. They're flawless. I don't know how they just do not mess up. I don't think the amount of times I've seen a traditional sports broadcast error is I can't even count on one hand, like the amount of times I've seen it. Esports, there's like quite a few, but I mean, granted, you're dealing with things, I think, dealing with a lot more technology to run the game and there's more room for error in that way. But even, like overlays firing too early or stats popping up at the wrong time or things like that, or the wrong ones going things like that. Like that happens in esports. Maybe I'm biased because I watch more esports than traditional sports, but every time I watch traditional sports, I just don't see any problems like ever.
The only issue I think I've ever seen in a sports broadcast is it took them like an extra 10 seconds to change the points. And that was it.
Yeah. Normally, the points is like one thing. Whoever's in the point, but that's a stressful job. Is whoever's doing the points for the overlay. But
you'll do that manually, probably. Yeah. I always thought there was like a little counter in the hoop or something that like activated it.
Yeah,
but there would be no way to like know a 3-pointer from a 2-pointer. Now that I think about it,
a bird flies through.
Yeah, exactly. A bird flies through and gets one of them. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean that's the same thing with like the arcade machines. So you don't know. I mean.
True.
Yeah, the arcade machine hoops. So
there you go.
Awesome. Well, we've derailed, so I think it's time for the next topic that I've got here. This is more of, I think, just a question for you two of individually when it comes to working in production here at WMU E-Sports. What is the most complicated or like technical problem you've been challenged with in the production sphere that you with the team were able to solve in some degree? I know I just kind of threw a big one at you, but I mean, I think that...
I think I have mine. I think it was Bronco Beatdown 1.
Yeah.
When we couldn't figure out the commentator situation.
Oh, like the voice of God stuff where like...
All of it, yeah. Because like, the way we did it back then was so janky.
We left everything on the night before so it didn't break.
Yeah, so before, it used to take us like an hour to set up for things, and like we didn't want to mess anything up, so we would just like leave it all on the night before.
And then come back and be like, it's still working.
Yeah, make sure do our sound checks and everything. Yeah. But yeah, I think like, I mean, it took us a while to figure out how to fix it. And I don't know if we fully fixed it the day of. Like we had a Band-Aid fix, but like now, a couple of years later, it's like takes 2 seconds to do what we used to take like a half an hour to do.
Yeah, so to give context on that, we were trying to set up a voice of God input with, if you're not familiar with that, that is essentially, it's like a mic feed that goes directly into our commentators' headphones. So it's for production updates or things where if you're commentating a match and you get a quick blurb from a producer or something that says, hey, we're going to go to break, or hey, we're still waiting on this player or something like that. And they hear those things. And now I will say, as being being the caster that was working with that and being a pretty newbie caster, that just like makes your brain melt when you have to deal with that the first time. Because I watch like pro commentators, they just are talking, they're like, oh, here in Word for Production that we've got this going on right now. And I'm just like, how do you do that when I'm talking and trying to make a statement and then I hear someone in my right, directly in my right ear start saying, it's like, hey, we're going to go to break in 5 minutes. I'm just like, I just break. I can't say anything.
I've never been caster, but if that happened to me, I would absolutely do the same.
I think I got really good at ignoring people while playing video games. So like it came very naturally to talk over and listen at the same time for me. But also I watch a lot of like sitcoms and TV shows where it's like, you know, you hear the voice in your head, but you don't respond to it. So I always like thought about that a lot. So maybe I'm the weird one because I feel like most people when they're new, they have that issue and they're like, they just freeze and you can see them listening. And it's like, no, just keep talking. Yeah, but like they don't know to do that because they're too busy listening. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of funny to watch it. Like in the moment, it's stressful because you're like in production, you're like, stop not talking and go do the thing. But afterwards, you can kind of laugh at it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah. Anyways, the setting up those mics and the whole audio setup, because that was feeding between our in-house speakers, split between the stream, and then you had to control the levels for it. And commentary is really difficult when it comes to like an audio prospect to set up, because you need to do a lot of finicky work with the compressors and the noise gates. Because if I'm just recording at like a podcast volume, like this, sort of just like an on switch, because I'm going to be talking with my inside adult voice.
Plus audio routing, so you don't hear yourself too.
Yeah, exactly. Compared to shoutcasting, where you're going in between like dramatic like troughs and huge highs and yelling into the mic, like that'll just like blow people's eardrums out if you keep it at the same setting. So, but awesome, Kelly. I guess your mountain you to climb.
Okay. As a group, I think the main thing I can think of is, I forget exactly when, but a few months ago, we were switching how transitions between different vMix scenes were set up. But the previous way we had it set up kind of transferred it a new way for a little bit. So sometimes I'd switch screens and an effect plays that I wasn't expecting to still be there or is meant to be in a different scenario. And so it's like a constant alert of every time you switch, you have to be prepared to turn something off that you weren't expecting to turn on. So it's like whack-a-mole in real time. Like, the scoreboard's on.
Yeah, and you just
turn it off. And then, so that I remember that took a few weeks to get like every single scenario, not only find it, but later remember it and deactivate it, so it doesn't run that way anymore. But in terms of recent stuff, over spring break, I fixed a lighting issue that took weeks to untangle as well, just trying to find out the best way to problem solve there.
What was that one specifically?
In the arena, we previously had a lighting person come in and make a bunch of presets for us that included colors, and we wanted to remove the colors from these presets. There's an important button, the color button.
The color button, yeah.
But on all other lighting consoles I've worked on, it's really easy to access. You press an arrow in the bottom right corner of the screen, and you can find it there. It was not there.
It was not. Someone hid it.
The arrow was gone. So I had to locate that, and then I tried to work around not having the button, but I ended up finding it tucked away in a different corner, and I was able to remove color from the preset so we can change our presets but keep the color from the previous preset that we had set up. So it was very satisfying to deal with that, but also it took a little bit.
Yeah. The light board is something that I have left to other people most of the time, because I will just go over there and be like, it's going to be blue in here now, and that's about it. I don't really go beyond that, because I remember we did want to do like a dive into the light board and get a lot more involved in that after we went to spring finals for LCS in 2019, because we came back and they have just every single time we come back from one of those events, you just walk back with just a huge wave of inspiration to like start working on things, and then you have to like quickly temper your expectations. I'm like, we could get like a firework launcher right in the front here, and I was like, we don't have clearance for that at all. So but then we sort of dial back to being like, what can we do with these ideas? So to give some context, we went to League of Legends spring finals in 2019. That was at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, and it was awesome. Really fun event over these 2 days. They finished out everything thing, but they had basically a bracelet that they gave you on the way in.
Yeah, that's right.
That like glowed a different color based on what was happening in the game, and they also like washed the arena with different colors based on like dynamically what was happening.
Yeah.
So like. Example, like in League, you have to, take down dragons every so often when they spawn in on the map. And the team that takes out the dragon gets like a buff and gets like, gets some bonuses for doing that. So there's 4 different types of dragons. Well, there's 6. There's 6 now, but I won't get into it. There's 6 now, but there's 4. There were 4 like elemental dragons. So fire, water, air, Earth. There we go. I got them all. I got them all. But anyways, when each one would be taken down, they would have this huge effect where like, they had ceiling projectors that would project, because normally they have those on like ice and stuff for Little Caesars Arena, but they would project like the dragons onto the floor.
Animated.
And it would animate, like fly across, and they'd like the ocean dragons, like this like teal cerulean blue color. And it just kind of like washes the whole arena in this green blue color. And it was really cool. And then they would go back to the standard lighting when the game would resume. And we were like, that is so cool. And that's like doable for us, that we could try and do something like that. So we looked into things like that. And I think the best application we ever got with that was in Overwatch when it would hit OT. And same thing with CSGO when we did some streams for that. We would like go to red and like flash lights when it was like overtime. And that was like the coolest thing we could go for there.
What's funny is like part of that inspiration too is I got tickets to IEM in like 2019
in
for
Chicago,
CSGO. And they had the bracelets there, but it was when they planted the bomb, the light would blink in sync with the bomb.
Yeah, with the beeping.
Counting down, So I was like, that's really, really cool. I'd never watched a competitive game of CSGO before that, really.
That's crazy to me. I think that's so insane that you got to go to that event for free. And it's the first thing of live CSGO, or the first thing of competitive CSGO you've ever seen is like one of the biggest majors in the world.
That's wild.
I was asking like other spectators what the heck was happening. I was asking random strangers, like, what just happened? How did he do that? Like, why did he know to do that? And they're just like explaining it really nicely. It was a really good experience.
Cool. Yeah, they have the flame cannons, because I know. I
don't think so.
I think I was watching Katowice, and they love flame cannons in CSGO. For every time like the bomb goes off, they just like throw these like 40 flame pillars into the sky, and everyone's just losing their mind. It's crazy.
When I was like Chicago too, LCS in Chicago, they had like fireworks in an arena. That freaked me out a little bit. I was like,
yeah, they were close. Yeah, they were a little close. I was like, they had indoor fireworks going off, and I think one cool thing about that, because talking about Chicago, they had a similar thing with the lighting, like projecting on the inside. We actually got to go on like a backstage tour and stuff. It was really cool to see all the things that go into making that and how they have it set up. Because you think about like our checks that we go into our streams with, it's like 2 or 3 of us, double checking the stream, making sure things go all right. There must have been 100+ people in that building, doing the final checks the day before the event, that we were going to. It was so crazy.
Yeah, multiple instances of vMix everywhere, and people with like multiple monitors. Like, we didn't get a chance to like go into each individual room, but there was like a whole bunch of rooms down a hallway that just had all these different people in there, like meeting and talking and on their computers doing stuff.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
that's intense.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to watch all of that. So, well, I have to remind everyone that you're listening on 89.1 WIDRFM here with the WMU E-Sports ESBN Electronic Sports Bronco News Network. I've gotten that one pretty good down, I think, so far. I
was impressed.
I got to rattle that one off pretty quickly. But anyways, you're here with the production crew for WMU E-Sports, team behind our streams and events and everything of sorts like that. So, moving to my next question is at least what's your personal favorite event that you've ran here or worked on? Wait all day.
There's a tie.
There's a tie.
So the most recent one we did was the Rocket League Invitational. I really like that one for multiple reasons, not because of the production as much.
Mostly because we won.
Yeah, I'm being honest. The event itself was stressful, but in terms of production, I think my favorite was Bronco Beatdown 3 because I had like a clear vision of how I wanted to do that one, and I feel like that event went as well as it could have. I think the only thing that was weird was the cosplay competition, because I didn't put much attention into that. But like, I loved how we had the camera set up and the lighting, and we had the table on the stage with the cameras like facing the players and everything. It just like, it looked perfect for me.
Yeah, I think everything on that one, and also everything on that one was running according to plan, because I think really on that one we decided, because that was one of the events where we were really saying like, this is the third time we've ran this event, and it feels like it's the third time we've ran this event in a way that like we were really prepared for everything that was going on and just had a lot of better expectations. It's nice when you run the same event and you can just kind of see the gradual growth over each one. Kind of get better that way. But what about you, Kelly?
It's hard. I like different events for different reasons. One of my first events was the Bronco Thunder Showdown, where we had Trine come over and we competed with them. It was a little bit easier in the Rocket League because we only had one other team to deal with, but also made implementing the camera feature a little bit easier, being able to see the teams. I think we had a lighting setup as well. It wasn't super complicated event, but it was fun to make the poster for that and just kind of work behind the scenes. Getting to do that. Rocket League was also fun, but it definitely helped that the enjoyment definitely helped that we won at the end.
Yes, yeah.
It was a long day.
Yeah, that one's normally pretty exciting. When you win it, you get a lot of rose-tinted glasses about the event, because you kind of look past of like any of the issues. Like, well, we won, so it was. Yeah. It was pretty good that way. I'm trying to think about what my personal favorite event to run. I really liked the first summer camps we did. I will say I think those were really rewarding. Just to like, spend a week with like a bunch of kids firsthand who like, share the same passion you do and like want to get better at games like that. And then kind of at the end of the week, see how they, get better, they improve and kind of bring that into the game. And then it's just kind of the same thing of like the parents were just like shocked that like it was so like impressive. And I think the stuff that we put on that they were, they loved every part of it. And that was just like super exciting to, be like, because it was like over the week, we're just like, oh, we're going in, we're playing games with the kids, it's fun, it's kind of, it's a fun thing to do. And then at the end of the week, you're like, wow, like we actually did, do a lot, with the stuff that's working on. It doesn't really hit you till the end of the week when stuff's going on.
I didn't think about the summer camps when I like thought about events, but yeah, I would say that's a really good one too, for sure. Yeah.
So the summer camps are really fun for me. If I have to say, like gameplay and how things went as far as I guess games and stuff went. I will say I liked the. I'm partial to the Overwatch Invitational, but I played in that one, so that didn't really help.
Yeah.
I played in that one.
It was a good one.
I helped plan that one, but I didn't technically run the event because I was busy playing in it. So
but we did win though.
Did win that one once again. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, like no other problems. But even then, from what I heard from that event, like that event ran really well too. There wasn't like a bunch of crazy problems. So I guess from these cherished, wonderful memories on production, I think we have to jump to the other side of the coin here on just some of like when it comes to a stream, it's just something you can think of that like, maybe just like a situation where you ran into it in an event and you were like glad you saved it right before, it went bad or something like that. I think that's sort of what I wanted to go into, because I don't want to have to relish in of just like, when did things go horrible? I don't want to talk about that, but something that you're like, it's about like, this could be very bad. And you fixed it in the, in the nick of time.
I'll have to think about that one.
I have a couple I can immediately think of.
Kelly works firsthand with these a lot.
I couldn't tell you exact dates, but there was definitely a time where the computer just shut down.
The windows up there. They're scary.
And I had to get everything else pulled up. I had to reconnect some calls on the tech side. I got it done right before, like, we went live like a minute or two before the stream was supposed to start. So it worked out, but it was definitely stressful and very cautious that something was going to happen again. Had it happen with the internet. I've had it happen where something crashes and files don't get saved and I have to remake assets.
Yep.
So much stuff has happened before stream, but I couldn't name one thing, I don't think.
Yeah, we're no stranger to these problems, but you think of one, Tavian?
The most recent one I can think of or remember is it wasn't during live production, but it was like the day before one of our varsity games, but vMix was crashing.
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't working at all. And I had to like call this tech support guy. And like I spent an hour on the phone with this guy trying to like work through all these issues. I think it was like a really simple solution. Like we just uninstalled it and reinstalled it and downloaded the update. Because when I downloaded the update, it broke it originally. So like I was like, what are we gonna do? Like this is not gonna work. And then finally got it working. And then like I realized that the guy I was talking to on the phone, actually I follow him on YouTube because I was watching his tutorials on vMix, and I was like, oh, you're that guy.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Wow, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, big fan of your content.
So yeah, he was a really cool guy. He helped me out free of charge, and we got it working again, luckily.
Awesome. Yeah. That's good. I think one I was really proud of was in the Trine event we did last time in the Overwatch games, because we have like a little thing of when it comes to like the stage PCs, when things go wrong with them, more often than not it's audio issues that happen, and there's like 5 things that it can be every time. It's never not one of those 5 things.
Absolutely.
And like we would blitz through those because we would go over, and it was great. I felt like an F1 pit crew when we did it the first time, because I sprinted over and someone's like, I have no sound in my headphones. I just run over, like flip the wheel, plug everything in again, like run it, alt tab, volume mixer, re-enable sound device. And he's like, and I'm like, you good? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, good. And I just walked away, and we had like a tech pause for like 30 seconds. And I was like, record time. Record time. So the audio problems, I think, are the ones that are pretty satisfying to fix. But
yeah, for sure. So those are like whack-a-mole. There's always going to be some, like whenever you plug in a controller, like that's like a roll of the dice right there. Are you going to get like a nat 20 and have everything work perfectly, or is it going to be botched? And now you have to like work through 3 different things.
Yeah, for sure. Just so many problems that we have to run into, but it's an adventure playing whack-a-mole on all of them. So
it is super satisfying, just like getting it solved and having it work. That like the final little aha. It feels great.
Yeah, I feel like I'm fighting something that like it's just like gotcha. Like it's not even like it, like the arena and the production, is like a big beast that sort of all of us, go in like a Final Fantasy fight and just sort of have to fight as like a team, and then just kind of figures itself out that way.
It's gonna sound weird, but I like the stress of live production, because I feel like I like thrive in those kinds of situations where it's like you don't know what the answer is and you have to figure it out. Like I like doing those sort of things. That and public speaking are 2 things that like I'm very uncomfortable doing, but I feel like every time I do it, I get better at it or more comfortable doing it.
And it just become really satisfying to know exactly where to look, exactly what to do. It almost feels like, I don't play that much fighting games, but like learning like the right combo. So it's just like I know where to move my mouse. There's no more hesitation of searching anymore. I really understand vMix way better than I did when I started. I mean, I'd hope so, but yeah, it does feel really satisfying, even though it's really stressful. Like knowing and having the confidence in yourself that you can do it is great.
Yeah. I think that stress is definitely exhilarating, that a lot of people look for it. I worked in food service and kitchens for 5 years, before I did live production, and they couldn't be more adjacent. I think those industries are extremely similar, and I implore you, if you're out there and you like working in kitchens now and you want to jump into the tech field, please take a stab at production. It's so worth it.
Especially if you're a student.
Yes, exactly. We'll get to the promos at the end. We'll get to those
Come
soon.
from the Valley Dining Center into esports.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's just as as hype and intense, because I worked at like a steakhouse, like on like as like a line cook for like 2 years, and I worked at like a pizza place, same thing, for like 2 years. It's the same thing. Like when you're in the weeds and things are okay. Yeah, I mean everyone knows that in the weeds means that's just when there's a million tickets on the board. There's more food coming in than you have like hands to make, and then you just kind of have to take one thing at a time, problem solve, immediately multitask, make 5 of one thing to like cut down on that. It's the exact same type of thing. There's less yelling at people. People are a lot nicer in production. I will say that.
At least in our production.
In our production, I can't speak for all production. I am sure with the same level of stress, there are equal responses on some production teams in the world, but ours is a lot nicer. So, but yeah, it's that same level of like, excitement and engagement, I think, is what kind of drew me to production in the first place, and why it was like really, fun to solve those issues and do that. So you are listening on 89.1 WIDRFM. I got to throw in the reminder there as we jump to the next section here really quick, as we've got about 10 minutes or so left on our hands here before we wrap up this segment. I think for each of you, what is something we're not doing in production right now that you want to, build into a little bit more? I know me and Kelly don't have a lot of time left here at Western because, we're both graduating seniors, but I mean, even if you could stay longer and work on something, what would it be?
I would like to have more pre-recorded footage of players or interviews and stuff like that in between our productions. That's probably the biggest thing that I would like to figure out and get a process for if I had to think about something, and just use that green screen, record everything, cut it up, and then have it ready to go during the live production.
Yeah, like interviews, behind the scenes stuff with practices, and
even throw some music behind it as well. vMix can do a lot of stuff really fast, just a matter of knowing what that process is. So I would love to just be okay, bring the players in, interview them, have them talk in a microphone. You can use whatever microphone, honestly, nowadays because of how we have it set up. But use the green screen room, put whatever background we want, and then use vMix to edit it in real time, and then be okay, let's play it in between game 1 and game 2. This player, maybe he already did good, or maybe we have multiples and we pick which one we want to do. I think there'd be a lot of versatility and engagement and that sort of thing.
Yeah, awesome.
I don't know, that Tron map ban sounds kind of sick. So.
We just got to get the holograms done right up to the flame cannons.
It's just probably something that I would like to do, just more personally and less as a whole team. Something I think that would be fun is really doing stingers and transitions, working on animations. The current software we use, vMix, has its kind of own built-in program for doing those kinds of things, but it has some limitations, has some skills, so being able to mess around with them but also work outside them is something that I think would be a lot of fun to explore. Just kind of adding those little touches to those points in the stream that I think that could be fun.
Yeah, I think little animations and segments like that really do make or break a stream. I just it just kind of adds that extra layer of professionalism to it because there's just more to look at. Shout out to Great Lakes Rocket League fish stinger transition. You know what I'm talking about?
Did you showed me.
Did you watch that, Savian?
I was commentating.
Oh yeah, I was watching that. So there was a local Rocket League tournament that they did all their own homegrown production for, and they had some stinger that was hilarious. That was the shot of this Midwest lake, pine tree for something, and the transition was a fish jumping out of the water and hitting the Rocket League ball, and it would switch scenes.
I was so confused when I saw that. Oh my god!
I needed an MP4 of that before I graduated.
I know, it's so good. I loved that when they wanted to take a spin on production and be oh, it's the Great Lakes Rocket League, so they just made it this whole outdoorsy theme and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. Actually,
it was cool. I like when teams do that because I think you're going to see more of that in the next decade or so of esports, because I think we're almost at a singularity point in esports production where we can only make things look so sleek and futuristic and cool that we're just gonna eventually reach Blade Runner, and we can't go any further, and it's we gotta try something else and change it up and maybe look for some other styles.
I see that same thing in graphic design, this whole simplification process. And at some point it's gonna break and we're gonna get super complex logos and assets again, I think.
Yes, yeah. It's all minimalism right now. It's all
for now.
For now, yeah.
I like that part of it.
Yeah, until there's gradients and stuff, and now everything's complicated again. We're making Tesseract logos for the dog food company. I'm sorry. Anyways.
Now, I was thinking I always think about the personality.
Yeah.
I think coming from the fighting game community, it was very much a strong, it's almost like WWE, the way we're just so over the top sometimes about how we commentate. So I came from that background, and going into esports, almost every esport is more clean cut than the fighting game community. And so it was always in the back of my mind, it still is, of how do we have our own personality? Because it doesn't matter how good the quality is, it will impress people, but the people come back for the commentators and the players and the personality of the stream. So I always think about what is our personality, and how do we do that safely?
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we are getting close to the finish here. I have one last question really quick that we're going to rapid fire before we start doing our shout outs at the end, because I always have to do a food segment at the end. So very quickly, best snack to eat during a live broadcast. Because there's a lot of times where we can't, go and take lunch and, take break immediately.
Oh, when we're live?
Yeah, because we got to run stream and stuff. So you got to be able to eat something quick, when streams are going. So what's the go-to?
Can't do Cheetos.
Cheetos is a no-go, yeah.
What's,
If you eat them with chopsticks, not as bad. Yeah.
Big brain.
I mean, I did have 3 green teas from Kung Fu Tea. I would have had more if I could leave my seat more often, probably.
Honestly, wraps and green tea.
Yes, wraps and green tea.
That's very just happened, but it's hand food and a canned drink. It's pretty mobile.
The chewy bars, the Quaker Oats chewy bars, I can clean through those. That's not Nature Valley. It will destroy the equipment. They'll explode
Crumbs
into
everywhere.
a million pieces. But they gotta be the chewy ones so they don't break off into a bunch of crumbs and stuff.
Good point.
Awesome. So that's our last segment here from the production team. Thanks so much for joining me this week, Tavian and Kelly. Last thing, Tavian, I guess if you want to run the outro for if people are listening, want to get involved with Western Michigan esports production, where to get that, I think you can start on our contact us page on the website. That's the best way. But if you want to,
so
into that.
A good start is wmich.edu/esports. That's going to have any events that we have going on / contact form. If you want to reach out to me directly and have questions, my email is tavian.napier@wmich.edu. Yep. Yeah, there we go. TAVIANNAPIER. It's a weird name, I understand. But yeah, that's where you can find me if you have any questions, want to reach out and volunteer for production.
Awesome. Yeah. So thanks so much, everybody, for listening for our production edition of the ESBN Electronic Sports Bronco News Network on 89.1 WIDRFM. So if you got this far with us, thank you so much, everybody. If you want to check out any updates from the program, you can check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, where we're going to have event updates, upcoming games, anything of that sort. We're almost out at the end of the year, but we've got some cool events in store. So go ahead, check out our socials there. And you can also watch the production team in action on our Twitch stream. That's twitch.tv/the WMU eSports. And thanks again, everybody, for listening this far. And any closing words from you two, or any
I got summer camps going on. If you're interested in summer camps, you can go to that same website, wmich.edu/esports. That'll have the summer camps tab right there. Definitely check that out.
I just say it's always good working with people from different majors, different programs. So whether you're a CS person, a marketing person, graphic designer, or Kinetic Imaging, we'd love to have you. It's cool to work with a bunch of different people, and there's definitely a spot for you on the team.
Yeah, for sure. One of our longest working production members was a poli-sci major. And so it's anything and everything. But so, yeah, we welcome it. So we've looked forward to seeing anybody if you're interested. And thanks so much for listening this far. So have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.